We've moved from Friday at 10 to now Tuesdays at 1. And I'll tell you why we did that. Everybody was saying that they couldn't make it to the 10 o'clock show, and they were finding it challenging to find me and listen later on demand. So there's so many changes here at hand. It worked out serendipitously that we are now Tuesdays at 1. So the idea is grab your lunch, chill out, and hopefully be inspired. The drive is about people, places, and things that move us forward. And we are so fortunate today to have Larry Bingaman. Did I say it correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. You can feel free to bust my chops if I don't
Nope,
as we
you're
go
doing
forward.
fine.
So all things that move us forward. You have an incredible background, and now you are the CEO of the Regional Water Authority in New Haven,
Correct.
serving 500,000 people.
Thereabout, yes.
So my newsletter that went out to everybody said, elevate humanity, conscious business, and water. So one would think that, and I'm going to jump right into it, Larry,
Okay.
only because I've got a lot of questions. And
Okay.
Kate told me that we had to stick to a tight hour.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully you want to stay the whole hour.
Hope we can cover it all.
So conscious consumerism started with probably back in the 70s, right? We started recycling, and now we're into organic food and, no GMOs. And so we could say it started from a consumer pattern. And we're not going to get into politics today because we know that can be crazy.
Right.
But there is such a thing in our country as businesses that are more conscientious. And it falls on the heels of what the drive is all about, which is mindful living, living on purpose. So before we get into your background, I want you to tell me, because everything I've read about you just reeks of how truly important that is to you.
Yes.
And, one would assume water, we should be conscious about what we drink. And we could talk about all the droughts and the people that don't have good water. But I really want to know from you what that passion and what that drive is, because you have taken it really beyond what I would call a typical CEO that's doing conscious business practices today. So tell me a little bit about that, and then tell me a little bit about how you got from Aquarion to where you are now.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's great to be here, Denise, so look forward to this conversation. Well, first of all, being in the water business in general, it allows me to serve my community and to give back, because we're providing a vital product for the sustainability of the community. It sustains life itself and contributes to the economic vitality of a particular region. So by being in the water business, I saw it as an opportunity to really serve mankind, to serve my communities in a higher way. So as the longer I've been in the business, the more important I saw that was. And it's really something that I've become very passionate about, that idea of community service, giving back, helping to elevate communities, and helping them do better.
Okay, so that being said, you've implemented a few programs in your organization to elevate humanity. Can you tell us a little bit about those and what they're really doing and the results you're seeing?
Well, I joined the authority in 2009, and then we started we put together our first strategic plan based on the balanced scorecard, which looks at a business from 4 perspectives.
Which are?
The customer, employee, the financial viability of the firm, and your internal processes, or how efficient you operate and serve your various stakeholders.
Were you efficient when you took this leadership role at your firm?
We've come a long way.
Okay.
I'll say it that way. We've come a long way, and through that first strategic plan, we've seen a lot of terrific results.
Okay.
For instance, through the work of lots of the employees in the workforce, we've reduced operating costs, increased efficiency, reduced our debt service cost to about $12 million. Now, the benefit to our customers, some of your listeners, is that has translated into mitigating rate increases by about 12%.
I hope you guys are listening. Okay.
So that had a direct benefit, and that's what we saw. If we could operate more efficiently, we can provide better customer service and at a lower cost. So we've been able to mitigate some rate increases doing that. We've also...
Do you think your consumers have heard that message? Or did they just gingerly open up their bill one day and go, wow, I haven't had an increase? Like, How are you getting that message out? Because, I think so often nowadays people are, they have a default notion that, all big business is bad. And what is it doing to me now? And
Yeah.
how can I get around it? And there's such a movement in our organization, in our current world for conscious living, mindful living. So how do you take some of that negative perception, especially around consumers these days that are, in those, Facebook fights over GMO foods? How do you steer that? Because when I was doing research on you, I got that sense that, like, wow, I wish I lived in New Haven and this was my water company.
Well, we wish you were there too. So,
But okay, anyways.
well, one of the things that the water industry is not one that has typically in the past talked about itself a lot. It was oftentimes called the silent service,
Right.
because when customers turn on their tap,
Yeah.
the water's there. And if a water company is doing their job appropriately, it's clean, it's fresh, it's meets all the regulatory standards. So people don't think about it.
Right.
So that's why it's called the silent service. But what we've started doing is to talk to our customers through newsletters, through various programs, and say, these are the things that we're doing to operate more efficiently. This is how that benefits you, the customer. These are the kind of investments that we're making in order to ensure that the water system is reliable and provides good service. So it's constantly reinforcing the message, because people forget.
Yeah.
They have a lot of messages that they hear on a daily basis, so we have to remind them.
Right. I grew up in a family entrepreneurial business, working with my grandmother, and she'd always say, "You're only as good as your last customer and your last dance." Right.
That's very appropriate. That's right.
So let me ask you, we're talking about external customers there. How about the internal ones, your employees,
Yes.
that you really need to steer their mindset? Again, the drive is all about shifting and steering,
Right.
and staying positive and reframing situations. And over the years, I think with the lack of what people perceived as corporate loyalty, you might have had a shift in productivity. But again, reading about your organization, it seems to me that you guys take a nice focus at what you do for your employees to kind of get them to also consciously move forward with whatever their jobs are. Tell
Right.
me about that.
Well, as you probably know, studies that have been done recently show that only 25 or 30% of the workforce is engaged.
Yeah, that's sad, isn't it?
It is, because that means 75% of the employees either don't want to be there, or
Yeah.
they do things that actually undermine what the corporation or business is trying to do.
Right.
So we've worked real hard to improve employee engagement within our company, and to solicit ideas from employees on how we can operate better, some innovative ideas to increase revenues without increasing water rates. And an example of where that payoff is that when we put together our second 5-year strategic plan from 2015 to 2020, we decided to make that a bottom-up process. So we opened it up to the entire workforce to participate in giving us their thoughts and ideas on what we did well, what some of our weaknesses were, some ideas to grow and expand the business and make it better. We had 52% of the employees participate in that process.
Which is a huge number.
That is huge, and that is so atypical to have that many employees. So those employees were engaged in the business, and they continue to be engaged. And I suspect that it's probably even larger than that, because their colleagues knew that their friends were involved in that strategic plan. So if they weren't involved, my friend was. So
Right.
they're probably even more engaged now than they were before.
So, as water is a silent service, and you are running a company consciously, some other C-level executives, of course, at your level, were you ever met with resistance? Like, hey, why are you doing that, Larry? Why are you wasting? Why aren't you making more money? Why aren't you trying to maximize profits instead of, because that is the banter,
Yeah,
right? So were you met with resistance? Because I know that in my own business, anytime I do anything too far out of the box, some of my contemporaries are like, Denise, that's just a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the Regional Water Authority is a nonprofit organization, so we don't have the pressure to earn a profit as your for-profit companies do. But the current leadership team I have is a terrific team. They all have the same philosophy of giving back to the communities and to working for the benefit of the customers. And when we hired many of these individuals, there's 5 individuals that make up the team, and some of them are new hires within the past few years. We wanted to make sure that they fit what it was we're trying to do. And those that are longtime employees had that philosophy. So we wanted to make sure that the leadership team was aligned first and foremost with what we were trying to do. And our 2 boards are absolutely aligned with that kind of thinking, that we need to be able to operate efficiently, serve our customers well, and give back to the community.
So is it hard to find people of your similar mindset, or are you thinking that people are, and for what reasons are they moving in that direction? Because this certainly wasn't the direction, say, 15 years ago.
That's true. That is something that has evolved over time. And we go through a stringent screening process to ensure that we hire employees that have that same sort of philosophy, that they're not there just to make money, that they really have a broader purpose in mind. So we've gotten to be very specific about the way we hire employees to make sure, again, we're bringing the employees on that would support our mission and vision.
So they want to be part of that 52%.
So they want to be part of that 52%. That's right.
So tell me, you said when we opened, when I was being very long-winded, that you are very passionate about community service, as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your background. I read that you were a marketing director at Sikorsky. Am I right?
That's correct.
Well, take me before that. Are you a
Okay.
Connecticut native?
No, I grew up in California and went to school out there.
I should have probably known that, ladies, right? Okay, sorry.
My first job was with an international petroleum company. So I became a corporate nomad for a few years. Was transferred from California to Texas. My wife and I were there for a couple of years, and then we were transferred to New Jersey for a few years, and then I was transferred to the New York office, which was what brought us to Connecticut in the early 1980s, and we've been lifelong, it almost feels like lifelong residents for some 32 years, with the exception of 5 years that I spent in Massachusetts. But while I was with Texaco, I was recruited to join Sikorsky Aircraft, and went to work for United Technologies and its Sikorsky Aircraft division. And while I was there, I was recruited to join Aquarion Water Company, headquartered in Bridgeport. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, gee, this is interesting. It's a different business, something completely different than I hadn't thought about. But they were doing some very exciting things at the time, and I had a chance to start a new department and work in marketing and communications there. So it looked like a great switch, and it proves that oil and water can mix. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I grew up in a mobile gas station.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
one of the competitors.
One of the competitors.
Yes.
Okay, so where does the passion come in? Like, were you taught community service from your parents? Like, what made you become? Because we have a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, once again, would always say, you can never be a success until you make someone else a success along the way. Right. So I try to instill that even in our employees. It's like, leave a little bit on the table for someone else.
Right.
Give a little something that you really want to hold on to, give it away.
Yeah.
Or, scare yourself and try something you wouldn't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that come in for you, and how do you let that flow down in your leadership at RWA?
Well, when I was young, my father was an entrepreneur. He owned several businesses, and my mother supported him and working with him. And they believed in giving back to the community. So I had an exposure to that as a young child. And in college, some of the courses that I took in the social sciences talked about giving back and making sure that you contribute rather than just take. But it was when I got into business and went to work for the oil company and saw how important it was that it become part of the community where it operated. And that became even more apparent when I went to work for Aquarion Water Company, because they were very involved in the community as well. So I took some of my early childhood learnings, what I was exposed to in college, early on in my first job, and applied that at Aquarion, and it's just growing from there.
I can't thank you enough. I'm getting the signal that we got to take a quick break.
Mm-hmm.
And when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about your community service projects, and then how you lead and get your managers to lead in that same mindset as we see the world turning and evolving.
Sure.
Thanks. We'll be right back, guys,
Good.
in about a minute.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the Dock Shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The Dock Shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone, sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
Does buying a car leave you feeling like you're chasing your tail? Head straight to Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram and take car buying in a whole new direction.
I'm back.
When you
So
experience...
let me tell you a little bit about the drive because it bears repeating now that we're on a new time slot, 1 o'clock Tuesdays with your lunch. The drive is about all things that move us forward. Great people, places, things, and ideas. It's not typical, oh my God, something terrible is happening in our world. We know that already. There's enough of that going around. So what I want our listeners to know is that after they've tuned into the show, whether live or later, hopefully it moved them forward. They tried something new. They got unstuck. They were having an off day. They started to smile because we always use a little humor. I think humor can solve a lot of things because it helps you reshape. And hopefully it motivated them. We get stuck in our own heads, and so we don't do community service. And what happens is we get more stuck in our heads.
Right.
Sometimes when you go out to help someone less fortunate or just help a worthy cause, it helps you shift your energy. When you shift your energy and you give back, you become more productive.
Right.
So my goal of this show, Larry, is to let people move forward. And sometimes we hear so much about, I'm so tired of getting on Facebook and hearing how many crazy negative things about GMOs. We know GMOs are this, that, and the other thing. But instead of going at it from a fear-based or an anger-based, I want to reshape it. That's the purpose of my show, not GMOs.
Great purpose.
Not
yeah.
GMOs. Okay. So oftentimes I do invite CEOs on because sometimes someone with that level of credibility and that level of experience to a regular Joe can be scary. But on my show, we get an opportunity to talk to you and you put a real face to your background and what you're doing, and you're not so scary. And you're actually hopefully motivating other people to maybe think about business in a different way. You know, whether it's nonprofit or big business, there are many companies, and there is sort of this wave of CEOs similar to yourself that are doing things consciously, mindfully. And yes, everybody's in business to make money. I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. One day I was working for a nonprofit that builds homes in the area for people that actually have to contribute. So they don't get the house for free. They have to contribute labor. And I'm not going to mention their name right now. So I was the chair of the organization, and I went down to a fancy hotel in Greenwich, and I said, but we're a not-for-profit. Can't you do much better on these room rates? And the manager said something very wise to me. She said, but Denise, we are for profit, right? And the world has to move.
Right.
Right. So for-profit isn't a bad thing, and nonprofit is very important. And you are doing some really important things in your community with, I think you've got 5 programs listed on your website and how you give back. Tell me about the one that comes to your head first and what you love about it.
Well, I think one of the best programs that we have going is our school education programs. We have a full-time educator who will go into classrooms and she'll teach students about water science, the environment, why protecting the water sources are important, why it's important not to pollute. And she does that throughout the school year. And then she has also developed lessons in a box in case a teacher wants to provide the lessons themselves.
Great.
And then we also have some lessons on our website, ourwater.com. So if
ourwater.com.
So if your listeners would like to go to our website, there is a place there that has some lessons. And through the in-class teaching that she gives and the lessons in a box, we probably contact close to 10,000 students through the course of a school year. And this year, by the way, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary of that education program.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And we estimate
Wow.
that we've probably have touched more than 300,000 students over that 25 years.
So think about that exponentially. You've got 300,000 people potentially not polluting water and telling at least their friend, hey, don't throw that
Exactly.
down there.
So you can double or triple that
Yeah,
number.
so we're going 900,000 today.
That's exactly right.
I'm loving that.
So, and then in connection with that, we have a relationship with Common Ground High School in New Haven. And Common Ground High School is a school that students are eligible to apply to attend, and it focuses on environmental science as well. So these are students that have an interest in that area. So once a year we run what's called a water boot camp, and during the summer the school will send to us 12 to 15 of their top students, and we'll spend a week with them, and they will learn about what all the different departments of a water utility does and why it's important, again, to protect water quality. And they'll go out into a stream and they'll do sampling. So this is a terrific hands-on program for students to really understand the environment and why it's important to be good stewards of that.
And when I read about that program, it also seemed like you were really trying to cultivate leadership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's important. I believe it's important for students to learn that everybody has a responsibility for themselves and their actions. And they can be leaders or they can be followers, and that's a conscious decision that they have to make. So when we kick it off, we talk about that, and when we conclude it in the graduation ceremony a week later that we give to them, we talk about their accomplishments and what they did, and stress that importance of being leaders in their own way and however they can be with their friends.
Yeah, it's so important. Again, I chime in with, parenting a middle schooler and teaching leadership skills and doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Right. That's exactly
And valuing, we can always do the right thing when everyone's watching us,
that's right.
But doing it when nobody's looking is a
Right.
whole other story. And not necessarily just doing the cool thing. So I salute you on that. And there was also a program for girls and ladies, water bottles. I read something about that. Okay, you're going to challenge me. I'm going to have to look through my notes. New Haven Fit for, it had tied in with Michelle Obama's Drink Up campaign.
Well, yes, that's a program that we have started to promote people using tap water more, because people have become convinced that bottled water is higher quality.
Not true.
Well, I won't comment on that.
I know,
but
I put you right on the spot
but
there.
we meet some very stringent federal and state standards for our water quality. And many people use bottled water because, one, they believe it is higher quality, and there's the convenience of the bottle. But when you stop and think that a 12-ounce bottle of water could cost between $1 and $1.25 or more, and tap water is usually less than a penny a gallon. So it's a terrific bargain. It's very high quality, And many times people say, well, I don't like the taste of chlorine in the water. Well, to get rid of that, it's very easy. Just let it sit in the refrigerator in a container overnight, and the chlorine will dissipate. So
That's a nice tip, everyone.
So you've got cold water. It's less than a penny a gallon. You can put it in any water bottle.
Why does it dissipate?
It's a gas, and it just dissipates through exposure to the atmosphere.
Okay, that bears repeating, guys. You're going to leave it in the fridge for a whole entire day, and the gas is going to dissipate. That's something that happens at our house because I grew up in the Berkshires, and we drink tap water there.
Okay.
Still.
That's good.
I don't like plastic bottles, and some of my friends in the industry are going to get mad, but you know what? It's true, right? It sits in your car, the plastic heats up, it goes into your water, and then you drink it. And then we wonder why we have onsets of various cancers because we've drank hot water from these crazy plastic bottles. And you've seen on the internet where we could circle the entire planet how many times?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that program was to promote the drinking of tap water, and if you want to, buy a stainless steel container that's safe and carry your water around in that. So we've been trying to get more people to think about tap water as being kind of the alternative to bottled water.
That's a new marketing campaign coming up the road for you guys.
Yes, we're working hard on that.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. So you just helped me out so tremendous. This is one tip that should have moved everybody forward. Yeah. The next big one is many of my listeners are big pet people, and you do a lot with your pet water.
We do. We worked with community groups to put in dog fountains, so to speak.
I hope you're listening, Evelyn. Dog fountains.
And to let the dogs have access to the water as well. And we've done several projects with that, as well as food farms.
Oh.
Urban food farms.
Tell me about those, because that's very big here in Connecticut.
It is, and when a urban food farm is interested in starting one or to elevating it, many times we will put in a service line that will allow them access for water. So that'll be our contribution, is to put a service line in from the water main to connect to their garden. So they'll be able to grow fresh, healthy food and have an ample supply of water.
But this is within the communities you service, of course.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So hopefully some of the community water services down here are listening.
Well, I'm sure some of our customers are in your listening area.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Yeah. But I meant more specifically South County.
Okay.
Okay, so that's great. Now you do all of those great programs. Do you think that helps the employee? It's got to help the employee contribution, morale, conscious mindfulness, and that's got to boost that 52%.
Well, absolutely. One of the key principles of conscious capitalism is that a business should have a higher purpose than just making money or profits.
Yeah. So tell me about that in depth.
So that higher purpose is really giving back to the communities. It's engaging your various stakeholders. It's
when you say stakeholders, tell us what you mean by that.
Well, that could be your customers, your employees, your vendors that you do business with, the communities in which you operate. And so the first tenet of conscious capitalism is to have a higher purpose, to really think broader than just making money.
Okay.
The second one is to understand the interdependency of your stakeholders and to never make a decision that benefits one stakeholder group at the expense of another.
So you play fair on everybody.
So you play fair on everybody. And I think it's important to think about that interdependency because we know that businesses can't be successful without having successful relationships with their customers, their employees, their vendors.
At least not anymore.
Not anymore. It has to be a win-win for everybody. So that second principle is very important. The third one is to have conscious leadership. That means that you take the principles of leadership and you bring it such that you promote the conscious culture. You create a vision that employees can buy into. The leaders model the way that they want everybody to act. They enable others to do their jobs better. They remove obstacles. And everybody's accountable. People say what they're going to do, and they do what they say. So that conscious leadership is very important. And then finally, it's having a conscious culture. It's really having that philosophy spread throughout the culture, because without having those first three principles part of the whole culture, it won't work. So we try and instill that higher purpose in our employees, and one of the ways we do that is to have them give back to the community through participation on boards or for different walks like the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, United Way. So that's way we try and promote. Another way we try and promote that higher purpose.
So it kind of feels, when I'm listening to you, it's like corporate loyalty reversed from the ground up. You're through conscious capitalism or business, you're getting the buy-in at all of the stakeholder, playing nice with everybody. I think everybody gets a sense that they're valued, namely the employees and even the vendors. Remember the days gone by when vendors weren't highly regarded,
Right.
and now they're strategic partners. So that seems like a 24-hour-a-day job. Like, I don't imagine someone like you is taking a rest. Is that true?
Well, I try and get a few hours sleep.
So what do you do outside of being a corporate leader that kind of helps you stay balanced, if you will?
Well, one of them is community service.
Okay.
I serve on, currently I serve on the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce board, and I'm the current chairman of that. And that helps me provide balance because that's giving back to the community in another way. But I like to exercise, so I jog, and that gives me about 45 minutes in the morning where I can clear my head, think about lots of things long term. Spending time with the family, and our 3 schnauzers also help.
You have 3.
We
No
have
wonder
3
you have the
schnauzers.
dog program.
That helps you keep balance, I'll tell you.
So if you were going to tell the audience, like, one very powerful thing that they could do to understand and not make it like a negative word, conscious capitalism, tell me what you want them to know about it being, like, what can they do to participate? They're not necessarily an employee of yours, but to better understand it, so they don't feel like it's just all rhetoric.
Good question. And we are in the process of starting a conscious capitalism chapter in Connecticut. It'll be the first in the state and in New England. So if people are interested in becoming part of that movement, they can send me an email at lbingaman@rwater.com, or they can call us at 203-562-4020, and we'll be glad to put them on our mailing list.
So when is that going to take off? Do you have a certain start date?
We're in the process of talking to the organization, so it'll be a few months, but we're starting to gather that mailing list so we can keep people informed.
So you've got a lot of great things going on. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back in a few minutes, and we're going to hear about what's next for you at rwa.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
The fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Kycote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Kycote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Kycote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com. Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special...
Snarky. And so I'm known to be, a person that's got a lot of humor, and and I got a lot of responses. Now, talking about open rates in a MailChimp or Constant Contact, in my industry, an open rate that's good is 17%. I just want you to know we smoked it with 32
Oh my
today.
gosh, well, that's terrific.
So
terrific.
hopefully we're going to hear
Yeah.
from HAN Network that we've got a lot. We've got a lot of views, and we are going to post this up so everybody can see it later on our LinkedIn and where else, Kate? Okay, we're going to see it on HAN.network. I've got to get used to saying that. Rob's not here to tell me that I am not saying it correctly, so you guys got to keep me on track. Anyways, it's been such an interesting conversation, and I have to say that it feels very true, like conscious capitalism is an okay thing. I don't know if I would have felt that way 10 years ago. How about you?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The conscious capitalism movement actually started about 8 years ago by John Mackey, who is the CEO of Whole Foods Markets,
Yeah.
and Doug Roush, who is the past CEO of Trader Vic's, and a management consultant by the name of Raj Sisodia. And they started the movement 8 years ago because they wanted to bring the philosophy of that businesses can do more,
Right.
and they need to be more, and they need to give back. And so they started the conscious capitalism movement. And since then, it has grown, and there's a lot of both small as well as large businesses that are part of that. Whole Foods is one, Costco's another, Tom's Shoes is another,
Yep.
Panera Bread is one, and they all have their individual ways of giving back to the community and practicing the four tenets.
And transparency.
And that's very important, is transparency and practicing the four tenets of conscious capitalism. So it's a movement that's growing.
Well, the thing about it is, too, I'm doing some consulting for another client, and we talk about what we're posting on social media. And we had a discussion yesterday. It's like the network owns, the news, right? And so they can spin it any way they want. But we, as personal branders, own the news. So we could say, I'm the president of whatever. It could be factual or not. But I think that cutting through all the clutter, fast forward today, people are able to better discern because they have so many places to get information. And now the new experiential marketing backs that up. So you have so many places to get your information, and now you have so many ways to experience it. So I think it has changed in the past 10 years. And we know where you are now, and we know that some great things are coming up. What's on the list of intentions for Larry? Let's go 5 years out.
Well, I'm currently enrolled in a PhD in management program, specializing in leadership.
Just in your few spare minutes, Larry.
Had a few hours a night that I could put to a
I
different
love
use.
it how
So-
people nonchalantly say crazy things. I'm just getting my PhD, Denise.
So-
Okay.
So doing that, and when I ultimately decide to leave the Regional Water Authority, I can't see myself sitting at home. So I plan on teaching.
Wow.
And going to one of the local universities. So that's kind of what's in store in my next life, next career.
And if you were going to cast a magic ball vision, where is conscious capitalism going next? What's the trend after this?
Well, I think that it's going to continue to grow, and what I would hope is that more and more businesses would subscribe to that, because the capitalism has really gotten a bad rap in the last few years, because you see a lot of companies that just focus on one particular stakeholder, like shareholders, and it's at the expense of all of their other
Right.
stakeholders. It's employees, it's their vendors, and quite frankly, through all of that, capitalism has gotten a bad rap. And when you stop and think about it, capitalism is really one of the greatest concepts that have ever been invented, because it is ethical, it is good, it's noble, and it really does, and it is heroic, because it lifts people from poverty into a better state of life.
Well, first of all, in the state of Connecticut, we have more women entrepreneurs per area than our whole country.
Right.
And I, having a few businesses and have been an entrepreneur for probably way too many years, I believe, capitalism is okay. I think, again, it's, as you said, the rap it's given. And so the purpose of the show is to illuminate things that maybe people need to reframe, reshift, steer. So that being said, and on the heels of almost closing, when you come up against obstacles, and it can be obstacles you take out of the way for your stakeholders, if you will, but even obstacles in your own life, in the most challenging ones you've ever had, what is it that you do as a leader that you have in your bag of tools that allows you to shift and make good decisions or quick decisions or so that the result is productive? Like, I can tell you how I shift my energy. I want to hear how you do yours.
I'll tell you, no person can be an island, and that's something that I learned early on in my career. And as I said, I've got a great leadership team that I work and collaborate with. And quite frankly, when I'm facing a difficult decision, I'll bring those leadership team members in to the fold, and we'll talk about what those difficult decisions are and what are the ramifications of it. So it's that collaboration with the leadership team, sometimes with key managers, and quite frankly with our boards. And I think by doing that, we're able to make good decisions that benefits all and moves the organization forward to keep that higher purpose.
So, Facebook wasn't born a success overnight, Microsoft, etc. And you certainly have quite a background and a big success. It wasn't overnight. Mm-hmm. So from a listener, individual point of view, what are we going to tell them today that will impart some leadership or get them unstuck or move them forward? So they're not at the PhD level yet, but they're thinking about it.
Right.
What are we going to tell them?
Well, I think that, when you're thinking about something, you need to just do it. And I thought about going to graduate school for a few months, and I said, you know what, this is something I want to do. So I think it's always having that, what's the next great challenge, to think about how you're going to approach it, and then jump in and do it. I think that's very important.
We are going to say thank you. It has been an honor.
It has been a pleasure.
I hope that with all the new stuff that's kind of coming up, that you'll rejoin us in 2016 and give us an update. This is Denise DiGrigoli with The Drive, Tuesdays at 1 o'clock on HAN Network. We'll see you back, and you can tune in on our website as well to listen and see us in a rebroadcast. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Denise.
Very
It's
much a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.